So, Sunday again, and I thought this week let's talk about how you, according to me, should hold your hammer. Grab yourself a coffee and see you on the other side.
One sip won't do, I take one sip won't do, from the magic brew. Sing a song of coffee, dark or light,
So, the hammer. Is it really a right and a wrong way to hold the hammer? And I say, definitely. In my opinion, there's one way that's gonna fatigue your hand super quick, and there's one way that's just gonna add more precision and more drive to your nails. So if you're interested in to see how I hold the hammer and which I think is the only correct way to hold a claw hammer, please stick around. Anyway, the claw hammer is just a or carpentry hammer, front and back. The back has a split, which is referred to as the claw in most cases. It can be different in your country, not sure. Please let me know actually. But anyway, when you're holding a hammer, most people would just grab a hammer like this. Sorry for my hands, but there's just a benefit of having a homestead. They get scarred. Anyway, holding a hammer, most people will hold a hammer like this. And sure, you can. But in my opinion, what will happen when you hold a hammer like this? It's a couple of things actually. And all these movements are exaggerated, so of course, but it's just to prove what happens in the long run if you're holding a hammer like it would be a baseball bat or a broomstick. If you hold a hammer like this, and every time you strike the nail, your hammer is gonna tilt back like this, which means you're gonna you need to parry every time with the pinky hold and the thumb grip, which means that in not much time your hand is gonna get tired in the hand and wrist, and then you're gonna start compensating with your forearm. And also what's happening actually when you're holding the hammer like a baseball bat, every time you strike a nail and you keep on doing it, and once again this is just movements that are exaggerated. So when you hit the nail, bonk, the hammer is gonna twist a bit, either left or right, and this is after a while holding it, because you're gonna get tired in the hand and you can't really hold the grip, and this means that you're gonna start skipping on the nail. So the head is gonna come, your head of the hammer is gonna be slightly skewed, and then you're gonna start hitting, and all of a sudden you're starting to bend the nails left, right, and center. You don't really know why you're doing it, but most certainly it's because you're holding your hammer like a baseball bat. Let's go with that, like a baseball bat. And to adjust this, it's really simple actually. All you have to do to start with, in my opinion, this is the fundamental way to hold a claw hammer, and it doesn't necessarily transfer into all the hammers, but in this case we're talking about the claw hammer. So the right way, in my opinion again, to index the hammer is just to move your thumb up on the spine of the hammer. So you hold your thumb here, which already gives you from the hand, gives you an attack angle forward. Meaning if you're holding it just like a baseball bat, you're gripping down more 90 degrees on the hammer, but if you transfer your thumb up on the spine on the hammer, you're pushing your wrist already forward, which means that you're working already with more muscles, big muscles in your hand and your forearm. But also, when you push it forward like that by just adding the thumb on the spine, you, as I said, you tilt the hammer forward, which means that the hammer is nested in between, as we have named it, the thumb thigh and the bottom part of your palm, which is already two of the biggest muscles in their hand, right? So it's already nesting in, and the grip you need to hold the hammer is much less when you now all of a sudden it's nested in between these big muscles, plus you're already working with quite a big muscle on the forearm. Instead of holding it just like that, and then your wrist is gonna get tired super quickly. As you see, it's not gripping anywhere, the big muscles, it's just on top and around it, instead of actually holding the hammer. And once again, the grip, you can loosen it up quite a lot actually. And what this does is just, of course, once again, takes time and some bit of practice, but when you swing the hammer for, I don't want to put a number to it, but plenty of times, you kind of learn how to, and this might feel very unnatural in the beginning to hold the hammer like this, but if you start learning, or if you just getting going, I really recommend to try to hold your hammer like that. And this, as I said, you're indexing the hammer, and then now all of a sudden you have the thumb on the spine and you feel where the head is, instead of being like that. And then it can be just a bit out, but you still don't feel it because it's just the handle is oblong. So, but if you have it on the spine, you automatically feel every little small twist in the hammer, so you can just adjust it, and it doesn't take much after, of course, a bit of practice. And then just moving your thumb up on the spine on the hammer will definitely help you drive your nails further down in the wood, which means that you need to swing your hammer less to achieve the same goal, which in the end means that you can swing the hammer for a longer time, drive more sorry, it's the coffee, drive more nails, and then just being able to work a bit longer without getting fatigue in the hand. And that's also like the main thing when you're starting to bend your nails. It's when you get tired in your hand or forearm, when your forearm is gone and you can't compensate anymore with your twists and turns, your nails is just gonna go all over the place. So once again, just grip up on the spine with the thumb, and then you all of a sudden have indexed your hammer, and then you know that the head is where the head is in the extension of your hand. Once again, it takes a bit of practice. But also, I'm gonna give you another tip actually. A hammer needs to be blunted once in a while. By blunted, I mean the head of your hammer. Every time you hit wood, you're pushing out liquids, you're pushing out sap, everything that's in the wood, and that's automatically get transferred to the head of the hammer. And that means you get a slippery surface on the hammer, and then combine that with holding it like a baseball bat, and all of a sudden you're starting to skip a lot on your nails, because not only are you holding it, in my opinion, wrong, but you also have a slippery head. So you just have a recipe for a bit of not putting yourself in a good position. So what you actually need to do once in a while is to blunt your hammer. And by blunting your hammer, I'm just talking about clean the surface of the head of the hammer. And this you can do on just rub it on concrete, or find a stone or sandpaper. It works equally good, and you don't have to do it much. It's just to get off the surface that's just making a slippery surface, and you feel the difference if you have been working a lot and hammering on the wood. You feel the difference of just a blunted hammer and something that's been using for a while. And as I said, it doesn't take many strokes with a piece of sandpaper or just rubbing the head on concrete, and that's gonna solve your problems. Catherine, my rooster. And also, I'm not sure everybody's aware of this, but a normal claw hammer doesn't have a flat head. Any claw hammer meant for, let's just call it general carpentry, always gonna have a convex head, a bit of a ball head, yeah, a bit of a bow in the head. If I see, it's and that's across, so it's not straight. And the reason for this, it's giving you leniency when you're hitting the nail. So if you're not attacking the nail 100% in the center and you're a bit skewed, you're still gonna have to hit the head part 90 degrees and drive it in. Make sense? So it's just compensating a bit for making it easier to hit the head square on the head every time on every swing. So once again, you blunt it off a bit, take a bit of sandpaper, that's all good, and then you're good to go. So once again, put your hand on the spine, make sure that your head is not gooey or sticky, and if you need, blunt it. And also, what I like to say is, like a regular claw hammer or carpentry hammer, as you said, does have its sub-genres. Like this, for instance. This is still a claw hammer, but this is a framing hammer, which just means, in this case, it has a square head, and it has these grooves in the, let's see if I can make them appear a bit better, maybe not. So they just have these grooves, which means that it's not gonna slip as much on the surface. However, and the framing hammers normally have a bit of a longer handle. It's just to get that extra swing and force. And when you do, I say a framing hammer is only used for framing, nothing to do with the out part of the outer layers, because this here is like a meat tenderizer, and it's gonna really leave marks on your wood, but also hitting yourself with one of these, it's very painful. So also most of these framing hammers will have a magnet of sorts or something to attach, just add nails on, so you don't have to have your hand when attaching the nail, so you can just chop it up and still attach it in the wood. So, but that's enough about the claw hammer or the carpet, or about the framing hammer. Get back on track. Sorry. And that's only the front and the handle. And let's not forget that the handle is actually from its head to the back. So just because the grip is in the very back of the handle doesn't mean that you're not allowed to move your hand up when doing smaller projects or smaller nails. Because attacking a nail that's only maybe 20 millimeters with a full swing could spell disaster. It's a trick to just grab down further up on the handle if you're doing small and a lot of these small nails, for instance. But since we are talking about nails, let's talk about the back of the claw hammer. This is normally used for, you know, just pull the nail out like that. And I say this is how you use the back of the hammer mostly. However, few will take this in practice, but if you have a stubborn nail that, you know, you tried everything, you've been bashing like a, yeah, whatever, and the nail still doesn't go out, there's always the option to twist and pull it from the short angle of the hammer. And now here you can, all of a sudden you can grip further down on the hammer, because you get such a good force distribution, I guess, pulling on the nail. And this will add tremendous force for you pulling out nails, but it's also a very good way to, if you have a nail that's crooked 6 way to Sunday, right? You could always use that side motion to straighten the nails out from a crooked to get them slightly straighter, to either push them down in the wood or just start it to take them out gradually on the, in this fashion, right? Although, caution, if you have a claw hammer that has a wooden handle, just make sure that you're not adding the, if you starting to pull nails out in this direction, don't add too much force on the upper part of the handle, because here down by the head, where the head and the shaft meet, it's gonna not take long until that is broken. So if you have a wooden handle, I really recommend to grip a bit further down on the head when you're doing those type of extractions on nails. And you know, that's it's pretty it of a claw hammer, and how to use it and how to make the hammer work for you. And while we are on the subject on the carpentry hammer, try to also, a lot of people when they start with the hammer, they're doing this motion just in the elbow, and you get tired very fast. So what I suggest is you try to work a bit more with your chest and shoulder and the triceps to force or push the nail down, but also make sure that the head is doing the work and not your arm, because this is a normal 16-ounce hammer, and even in Europe we still we use ounces for determine the weight of hammers, and a normal carpentry hammer is usually 16 ounce, and then when we get up to framing hammers, we tipping up on 20-22 ounces to get a slightly bigger head and a longer shaft, just to get more driving force in the head itself. But yeah, all in all, try to work a bit more with your chest, shoulder and triceps when you're swinging the hammer. And just when you get that down, and if you're starting to hold your hammer with the thumb on the spine, it's not gonna take long until you figure out the correct, how to explain. You're having a bit bigger chance to continuously hit the nail square on if you're working with the bigger muscles in your arm and chest, instead of just using the elbow, because that's get tired and then you can't really get the precision you want. So if you're working with the bigger muscles, you're definitely gonna improve your hammer skills. And also, as I said, if you're just moving your thumb up on the spine, you're gonna drive the nail further down in the wood on every stride, which means that you can nail more nails with the same amount of energy spent. And also, on the subject of nails, not a pro tip, but a free tip, I will say. When you attach nails to wood, you usually hold them, most people will hold them like that, right? Or like this. However, if you have very short nails and you're doing this, the risk that you're gonna hit yourself on the fingers are quite big. So if you have shorter nails, or you can even do this, start training yourself to do this with longer nails, is just to hold them in between your index and whatever that finger is called, like that, so you have the meaty side up. And every time, if you miss, you hit yourself on the meat, which gonna save your fingers quite a lot. It's still gonna hurt, but you might save your nails more than often, instead of attaching the nail like that. And if you miss, when you hit yourself on the thumb, it's gonna be directly on the nail, and that's gonna just hurt like a mofo, right? So once again, I really recommend you to start holding the nails like that when they are of shorter stature, to just make sure that you're not hitting the nail but you're actually hitting the nail. Make sense? Okay, I think so. Apparently the camera cut again. What can I say? Anyway, thank you for watching, and let me know in the comments if you have any other tips and tricks for just holding a hammer, or other general information about hammers and indexing them. Okay, ciao ciao, bye bye now.